Today, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a little overview of the upcoming video presentation that I believe that's due Thursday, Friday, and it's on the 28th at the end of the week. And real important, so for this assignment, once you post your video, I also want you to respond to each of your classmates' videos. But to do that, you want to make sure at the end of the module, of the week 2 module, the module you're working on for this week, I have a list of all the CRN rosters. And so what I mean by responding to each of your classmates, you only have to respond to the classmates that are in your section, right? So you don't have to respond to all 160, 70 videos that you'll have access to. You just look at the CRN roster and you just write a comment for each of the individuals that are in your class. So that's going to be, anywhere from 24 to 25 videos that you'll respond to. And the only other time that I ask you to respond to each of the videos in your class is for this first speech and then at the very last speech at the end of the semester. Once we get into the speeches, now you only have to respond to 5 of your classmates. And the input that you guys give, and I've even noticed already with some of you that have already posted your videos and put your comments up, good job. Just the comments we get from peers as we work through the class, that really helps to build your confidence. And then you just we really try to develop a sense of community that we're all in this together and we all get nervous when we speak in public. And we all have to really focus on trying to make sure that we're looking at the camera lens and not at the actual screen. We all have to deal with saying ums and uhs and other vocal inferences. So once we kind of develop that community, we're all in it together, we're all giving each other feedback. I just think that that helps us to grow even more when it comes to learning about public speaking. And hey, the cool thing about this class, this isn't a class where it's like you're going to take the stuff that you learn, put it in your back pocket, and hope you get to use it in the future. No, this stuff you can use right now. And especially when you look at the situation we're in with our society, hey, we're living in a pretty good time where I think it's important to be able to use our voice, right? And to be able to speak out and to be able to make a difference in society. So pretty important time to be able to develop the skill of being an excellent communicator, because really communication is the way that we bring about social change. All right, so a couple things I want to go over as you guys get ready for that upcoming video. And the first thing that I want to tell you about public speaking, there's no secret to being a good speaker. I know a lot of folks, oh, that person's such a good speaker. That person, they're a little shaky. They kind of suck a little bit, right? Probably the biggest difference between the really good speaker and the lousy speaker, practice. Good speakers put in the preparation it takes to be able to perform at a level where they can give an effective speech. I always tell students, look, this is no different from if you're in a play, right? It's a performance. Now, I will tell you this, if you're in a play, do you try learning the lines the night before you get on stage? No, you're going to put that preparation in so that you can perform at the highest possible level when it's time to give that presentation. So I just want to make that real clear. And that's great, right? We can all be great public speakers if we're willing to put in the work and the preparation. And one thing that I'll harp on all the way through the semester, probably the best advice I can give you when it comes to public speaking, always try to have your speeches written. And you don't even really write a speech. I'll show you how to outline a speech. It's a better technique. But always have your outlines prepared 1 week in advance of the due date. So whenever I have to give a presentation, I want to have my speech ready to go so I know exactly what I'm going to say 1 week before I give the presentation. And then just practice that speech out loud 3 times a day, every day in the week leading up to the presentation. And each time you practice, work on a different technique. Maybe one time I'm going to practice, I'm just really going to work on my eye contact. Another time I'm going to practice, I'm going to really work on trying to slow my rate down and enunciate my words clearly. Another time I might focus on, hey, let me see if I can control the movement just a little bit more. And cool thing about this class, you have a lot more ability to be creative in the way that you want to present. And you guys will notice that when you start watching the introductory videos as students start submitting those, lots of different ways to do this. And I'm all about the creativity, right? Even if you try something and it doesn't work, cool. We tried that. We'll try to adapt. We'll try to make that a little bit better. So I really encourage you to use the freedom that comes with the type of public speaking that we're actually doing. But the key to being successful as a speaker, it's not hard. You put in the work, you put in the preparation, you practice your speech a bunch of times out loud so you hear yourself actually saying the lines, then you're on the road to being an effective speaker. All right. So a couple things that I want you to do with the introductory videos, and the one thing that I'll emphasize first is the importance of making sure in that video that you establish your 3 goals for the class for this semester. So in that video, I want to hear from you. Here are the 3 things that I would like to develop, I'd like to accomplish as a speaker in this class this semester. And so you want to make sure that those are really clear and make them specific, because the more specific the goal, the easier it is to measure whether or not you have accomplished that particular goal. So make sure in that video, the content, obviously we want to know a little bit about you and your background, but make sure in that video you lay out your 3 goals for this class, for this semester, and make them as specific as possible, because that makes it easier to determine whether or not you have met those goals at the end of the semester. And from your end, you want to go, look, hey, I met this goal, and this goal, and here's my support. Here's the evidence to support that. All right, so we've got to make sure we've got the 3 goals in the content. And then while there's a lot of stuff that you're going to learn about how to deliver a speech effectively and how to deliver a presentation effectively, even when we're doing that remotely, 3 things that I want you to try to work on for this presentation. First, really work on trying to get the eye contact dialed in. And that's really tricky to do when we're doing stuff online, because our eyes are automatically drawn to the screen. Like right now, I really have to focus. I would rather be looking at your friendly faces as I'm speaking, but I know that doesn't create the illusion that I'm actually looking at you. So I've got to make sure I find that camera lens on my recording device, and that's my audience. So really what I'm learning to do here is I'm creating the illusion of making eye contact with the audience. And we all know with communication is a whole lot better if we're looking at the individual. I mean, you don't go out with that special someone, right? And then you bust out the note card. No, eye contact is important, not only in public speaking, but also in communication. So we really want to get that eye contact dialed in. And there's lots of different ways to do that. What I do is right on the top of my laptop right here, I have kind of a little makeshift pouch that I made, so I can stick a note card right at the top of my laptop. So as I'm speaking now, I'm looking into the camera, but I'm also looking right at my notes. Hey, how cool is that? If we were in the classroom, I would really emphasize the importance of learning to speak without the use of notes, because the less you're relying on notes, the more your eyes can be on the audience. The more your eyes are on the audience, the more chance that you're going to be able to really make an impact on the individuals in the audience, right? I've got to look at that. But I'm actually looking at my note card right now with all of my notes. So as long as I'm creating the illusion of eye contact, that's what I'm after. So students, be creative. You can jerry rig your own teleprompters or whatever you want. Cool. I just want to see those eyes on the camera. And with that being said, especially for the first couple speeches, I don't mind too if you're glancing down at your notes, as long as you glance back up. And I would say for the first couple speeches, let's work for at least 50% eye contact. Cool? Let's try to make sure that at least half the time during the presentation, I'm focusing my eyes on the audience by speaking to the actual camera. The second thing that I really want you to focus on is to really try to control your rate. And so that means I'm talking about your rate of speaking. So we have a slower rather than a faster delivery style. You know what happens when you speak for the first couple times, especially if you're a little bit nervous and you've got that adrenaline going? Typically, the rate goes a little bit faster. And you'll learn in the module next week as we go through the process of communication. For communication to actually happen, and the goal is I'm trying to reach shared meaning, right? I want to get whatever is in my head. I want to get that in your head. So you go, oh, I see. So you understand it the way that I intended for it to be understood. But if we go fast, that process is harder because what the audience has to do is they listen to your words, they take your words in, they have to translate those words, give those words some kind of meaning, and then that creates an idea. So it's easier for the audience if you give them a little bit more time to digest your words, to take the words in, to associate meaning with those words, and then hopefully the idea that they gain is similar to the idea that you intended for them to understand in the act of communication. So let's make sure we control the rate. And then the third thing I'd like you to really start working on, and you can do this in your conversation also, is let's really work on trying to control vocal fillers like like, and typically we use vocal fillers between phrases. I always tell students, great way to really work on eliminating ums when you're communicating is it starts in the classroom. Most of the time, when a student will raise his or her hand and ask a question, the first word out of their pie hole is going to be an uh, and the reason why is the student gets called on, and it takes a second to kind of formulate the words that you want to use to ask the question. And for some reason, we think that there needs to be noise coming out of our mouths while we're thinking. So it's usually I call on a person, hand is raised. So Mr. Pop, how do we do this? Right? So realize when you say and then the second step is we just want to replace the with the pause. So if you really start paying attention to your use of vocal inferences in normal conversation, I want you to start creating an awareness. So it goes something like this. Oh, and he said it. Okay, that's good, right? You start realizing that you were saying it. Then just start replacing the ums with a vocalized pause. And realize most of the time we will use between a phrase or a sentence. So it's like we say a sentence, I'm reloading the next line, and then we come with the next line. So better say a line, pause, load up the second line. It's best if you don't break eye contact with the audience because they just think, okay, you're just going on to your next line. Well, anytime you break your eye contact, that's always a hint to the audience that you don't know what the next line is. So say a line, pause, hold your eye contact, and then go to the next line. So it's a process. It takes time. So you want to start creating the awareness of, oops, I said then start replacing those ums with pauses. Slowing your overall rate down helps as well. All right, so with that first video, let's make sure that we've got our 3 goals clearly stated and that we're really trying to get that eye contact dialed in by looking at the camera lens. And then we want to make sure too that we're trying to really start eliminating the use of vocal fillers, realizing that most of the time it's going to happen between a sentence. All right, you guys do those 3 things, make sure your goals are really, really clear. You're going to all do really well on the opening videos. All right. Also, too, see, I just said it, right? But I caught myself because I get used to it. And look, the stuff that you're going to learn is the same stuff that I learned when I was first learning how to become a public speaker, right? And you know what the cool thing is? We never get perfect. I'm pretty close, but I still have room to grow. And so we're all in this together. We're all learning. We're all growing. And there's no downside to being a better communicator. All right. And then everybody make sure when you submit those videos, you embed those videos so they're right there on the page. And lots of different ways to do the videos things. You can record straight on Canvas. You can record on your phone, upload to YouTube, and then embed it from YouTube onto the Canvas page. The videos at the end of last week's module explain how to do that. And if you're ever stuck, it's like, I can't figure out how to do this, send me an email and just ask me if I'll make an instructional video. Cool, because I can go right on Zoom. I can do the screen share. I can record it, and then I can put that up in the form of an announcement on the page. So anything that you're struggling with, trying to figure out, ask me a question. And I say this carefully because you don't want to procrastinate in this class. That's really one of the reasons why people fear public speaking is they wait until the last minute to prepare a speech. They write it the night before. Well, no wonder the speech sucks the next day, right? You didn't get any time to practice the presentation, right? So you want to make sure that you get that preparation in. That's really the key to being an effective public speaker. All right? You guys have any questions for me? I'm going to take it off record.